Carlos Sainz was second fastest after he had a chassis change due to heavy damage he had in FP1. However, fans were left unhappy because all fan zones had been closed before the session began, so they could not watch the cars go to the track. The suction created under Carlos Sainz's Ferrari as he drove over a drain cover caused the car to rise off the ground. The car's undercarriage was severely damaged, necessitating extensive repairs. Sainz's massive amount of damage after only 8 minutes of FP1 driving has resulted in a grid penalty for the necessary changes to his car. All fan zones had to be shut down prior to FP2 starting because of the 2.5-hour delay caused by him running over and removing a drain cover. Since the drivers hadn't had much track time in FP1, this session went place later than any other Formula One session ever has, and without any spectators. Due to the lack of early running, the session was extended to 90 minutes. However, Lando Norris had an issue early on and had to make a painful crawl back to the pit lane. Several lockups occurred early on as drivers pushed their boundaries, but the major purpose of the session was to familiarise themselves with the Las Vegas Grand Prix track. When Ferrari team principal Fred Vasseur saw that Sainz's car needed extensive repairs, basically a new chassis to compensate for the damage, he was furious. The Spaniard had to receive a new survival cell and numerous other parts for his power unit, which led in a 10-place grid penalty from the stewards. Ferrari tried to argue his case, but the limitation was insurmountable. Sainz took to social media to vent his frustration with the suspension he must serve, labelling it not acceptable. Despite his disappointment, he assured his followers that he and Ferrari will deal with it and try to make up for lost ground this weekend. Sainz and his Ferrari teammate Charles Leclerc improved greatly from their second-place finish in Thursday's first practice session to their first-place result in the early hours of Friday morning's second session in Las Vegas. The 29-year-old claimed he was all right after the incident, but the penalty would prevent him from enjoying his weekend as planned. I think that the track layout is suiting us a bit more compared to the last few, and we seem to be switching on the tyres over one lap and being competitive, Sainz said after the delayed and elongated FP2 session in Las Vegas. So yeah, I was quite excited and optimistic. Unfortunately, as the session finished, the team communicated me that I was taking a 10-place grid penalty for something that I have no fault and the team has no fault. And obviously, this has changed completely my mindset and my opinion on the weekend and how the weekend is going to go from now on. You can obviously understand how disappointed and in disbelief I am with the situation, and you will not see me very happy this weekend. It won't matter how well Sainz goes in qualifying. He'll still have a long way to get back to where he started. Even if there is a massive 1.9 kilometre straight along the Las Vegas Strip that might be used for an overtaking attempt, the Ferrari driver isn't in the mood to start racing mode just yet. To him, this penalty is a clear example of why Formula One should start supporting its drivers instead of punishing them when they are in the right, and it has severely hampered his career. Yes, there will be opportunities, but as I said right now, I'm just disappointed with the outcome, and I don't want to talk too much about the future, because what happened today for me is a very clear example of how this sport can be improved in so many ways, he explained. FIA teams rules that this could clearly be applied as force majeure for me, not to take a penalty, but some way there's always people, always ways to make the situation worse for an individual. I think in this case it's my turn to pay the price. Ferrari team boss Vasseur initially blamed the floor, but now says the entire chassis, as well as the battery and the engine, was destroyed. Images published on social media depict a broken floor. Damage prevented Sainz from taking part in FP2, and Vasseur called the incident unacceptable because of the cost to Ferrari in a budgeted year. What he said is that I think I hit something on track and he didn't know exactly what it was. The situation is that we damaged completely the monocoque, the engine, the battery. I think it's just unacceptable. We had a very tough FP1 one that will cost us a fortune. We won't be part of the FP2 for sure because we changed the chassis of the car. Okay, the show is the show and everything is going well, but I think it's just unacceptable for the F1 today. The team principals were surveyed and asked if they believed that the brand new track and its amenities were safe, or if Liberty Media had placed more importance on showmanship than on the necessities. I think you don't have to mix everything, Vasseur said. I think that the show is mega and I'm very happy with what Liberty did around the race. It's a huge step forward for F1 and we have to separate the show and the sporting side. The show is mega. I was in the paddock club yesterday when they did the ceremony, and it was something that I never saw before, perhaps in Magny-Cours 2008. I think it was clear it was something mega for F1. But it's not because you are doing this that you don't have to do the job on the sporting side. I think it's two separate things. I don't want to mix everything and to say, okay, on the sporting side because they did the show. It's not true. You can do the show and do a good job on the sporting side. It's two separate events. But what did the other teams think of the incident and the subsequent uproar? A journalist at the press briefing said that Formula One is getting a black eye because of this, despite the fact that the Las Vegas Grand Prix likely cost more than $500 million to put on. As a sign of his annoyance, Wolff responded by labeling the claim completely ridiculous and asking for credit for the work done to bring Formula One back to Las Vegas. That is not a black eye, Wolff affirmed. This is nothing. We are Thursday night. We have a free practice session, one that we're not doing. They're going to seal the drain covers and nobody's going to talk about that tomorrow morning anymore. It's completely ridiculous. Completely ridiculous, FP1. How can you even dare try to talk bad about an event that sets the new standards to everything? That has happened before. That's nothing. It's FP1. Give credit to the people that have set up this Grand Prix, that have made this sport much bigger than it ever was. Have you ever spoken good about someone and written a good word? You should about all these people that have been out here. Liberty has done an awesome job, and just because in FP1 a drain cover has become undone, we shouldn't be moaning. The car is broken, that's really a shame. For Carlos it could have been dangerous. So between the FIA and the track, and everybody needs to analyse how we can make sure that this is not happening again. But talking here about the black eye for the sport on a Thursday evening, nobody watches that in European time anyway. But Ferrari wasn't the only team who had a bad start at this event. Zhou Guanyu's Alfa Romeo is suspected of suffering undercarriage damage as well. He was following closely behind Sainz at the time of the accident, and it's not clear whether he ran into the unfastened Ferrari cover or some other piece of debris. Even though Esteban Ocon just collided with the drain cover at a reduced speed after the session had already been red flagged, Alpine has confirmed that he needs a new chassis. Late in the season, when the team is already under pressure due to an unusual schedule for the first race in a back-to-back to finish the season, they are substantial, time-consuming, and costly setbacks. Teams and drivers alike will have to factor in the expense of the roughly 50 minutes of lost practice time, especially if it causes additional changes to be made to the schedule. The first session on a new circuit is always a complete track cleaning, since the low temperatures in the air and on the track make the surface less grippy. This is especially important in Las Vegas. Due to the lack of a complete scan of the circuit, the teams and drivers' typical simulator preparation in advance was substantially hampered, necessitating additional learning and more reconnaissance effort than usual. What do you think of this weekend so far? Has Formula One put more emphasis on the show than the racing? With a brand new track and a shattered schedule, is it possible that we could see an unexpected winner this weekend? Leave your thoughts in the comments.